Yes, hello, my name's Anthony Van Can and I'll be interviewing Sylvia Rands today. She's a conscious channel, and the topic we'll be talking about is propaganda, warfare of the mind. So in the last Intel there was an important aspect that was one of the most important aspects that was listed was the warfare of the mind. Mm-hmm. And most people have no idea of the propaganda that's actually occurring. And what I found interesting is a psychologist once said, you can ask a room full of people, do you believe that propaganda exists? And it's spread throughout the mainstream media. All the people in the room will put their hands up. So they understand that this is actually occurring.
I bet.
Then you can ask them, do you think that this propaganda may have affected you in some way? All the people will put their hands down. They have no idea how subtle and effective this propaganda is. So my question then is, can the group of 100 elaborate on this question for me, please?
Okay, great. Okay. Greetings, dear ones. Aha, yes, propaganda. It is everywhere, is it not? It is riddled. Your society is riddled. The descriptions of food that you buy in the supermarkets, the lies that you are fed every day on your television screens. Of course, this fine tradition of duping the masses was really the warfare, the silent weapon that the Dark Ones chose very, very early on. Newspapers and television were really created for this, so that misinformation could be beamed into the living rooms of every household on the planet, or those who are able to receive this. This was the invention and of course the use of advertising, which used to be minimal when it was created and has become now such a bastion of the whole television industry, is effective due to a couple of points. One is repetition, that if you simply use the power of the word to beam the frequency of those words and those images into people who are sitting open and unsuspecting, waiting for their drama to resume on the TV, or their comedy, or whatever, or the news, then of course this goes straight in. There is no barrier. There is no barrier. So often the laughing, the comedy, whatever, is used to soften the shields, the innate shields of people, and so the poison of choice can be fed into the minds of the trusting populace. Of course, over the years, there are many in the population who, for example, intuitively turn off the advertising on their televisions with the so-called mute button. There are those who simply cannot even stand the frequency of these energies being involved. If they have chosen to, for example, watch some high quality performance of some sort, then this is clearly a very vast lowering of frequency to bring in an advertising saying such and such pharma, as it were, ceutical, is really going to help you with your health. These sorts of things are constantly fed into the mainstream via the advertising machine. The irony is, of course, is that, as we now know, Hollywood itself and much of the unsuspecting, from this channel's personal perspective, good-hearted, well-meaning thespians and those who, the artists who are involved in the creation of fine film and fine drama. Unfortunately, the machine of Hollywood itself is a much more powerful machine than even the actors, who may feel they are serving a worthy cause when they play such and such a role in such and such a movie. But if you were to look back at these movies some years later, you would often see there is a strand in the storyline, in the narrative. There are the signals made by certain actors, such as satanic symbols, which are just infiltrated into quite mainstream movies. But if the actor is of the dark lineage, they will find a way to bring into an otherwise performance that may appear to be full of integrity, these subtle messages. So the propaganda can come via actual individuals in the profession who are involved with the dark. It can come from the upper echelons, the producing, the writing, and it can be the words that actors, that otherwise innocent, unsuspecting actors are made to say. It can be a storyline which is basically full of integrity but has a slight twist, which actually makes it resonate very differently. This is the food that people have been sitting on their couches watching, certainly in these last years, these last, 50 or so, years since television was invented. Before that, there was the radio and the invention of print. So these MSMs, these mainstream medias, shall we say, anything that has reached a vast populace, we understand that it has been used to affect people's minds significantly by the dropping of ideas which are designed to allow the blank slate of the human receiving the information to form opinions. And the individuals, as in the example you used, were the people putting their hands down and saying, well, that's not me. I'm not prone to propaganda. But of course, we do not smell or taste or feel the effects of these thought forms as they enter the human vessel. Anyone empathic of nature who is aware how much they are constantly picking up and to some extent embodying the energy of those around them will understand that this is always happening via other people's opinions. So, for example, somebody growing up in a household where dad has a particular political view and is very strong and staunch on this and speaks about it a lot, and even if the growing teenager, for example, grows into adulthood thinking, I don't agree with dad, that is not to say that the programmed response has not penetrated, because anything the word is a very powerful force. The spoken word, is vibration. The human being is made of sound and light. The spoken word is vibration. This is why the infiltration of these programs has been so much greater since the invention of film and television than the written word, because it is literally, its vibration enters the being of individuals, and they believe it is their truth. It becomes part of their vibratory field, and that vibratory field says, this is my truth now. And then they find themselves repeating it sometime ago, sometime later. Examples can be given everywhere of people, for example, changing their minds on things because the media is now promoting another slant. So you can have the media saying this person is really good, and then some so-called sin or is committed, and suddenly this person is not good. And these complete turnarounds can be made within weeks or months, and still the populace will journey along, and there they will be some months later saying, oh yes, I used to like that person, but they turned out to be no good. This is how it works. It's very, very deeply, these are very major tools. And because they are, as we are explaining, couched in food for the human being. I want to watch my favorite program. I want to watch my favorite actor. So you do not understand that if that story or that person is compromised, you are actually receiving an already compromised energy, which is affecting the being. And over time, this solidifies, as we have said, in the energetic field, so that truth is such a rare commodity that, as has happened over the last 3 or 4 years for those who are seeking it, when truth is encountered, it feels ugly and raw, and the frequency attached to it feels harsh and sharp, and there is no frequency match within much of the populace, because they have become softened and they expect their news to be delivered on this frequency line with these voices and these tones and this level of authority and by a person wearing a suit, and they have, their world has been prescribed for them into, in a way, a particular box of frequency, a vibratory box, which says, be comfortable, we're in control, we've got it, stay calm, we're the experts, it's okay, you can sit on your couch and just listen to us, we'll do the work for you. And so when you raise up and break out of this softened sort of what you would call squidgy box into, when truth starts penetrating, it can feel almost violent in its penetrative quality. The soul, of course, recognizes the truth. It has been long awaiting for it. But then, of course, we get into this inner battle between the soul and the egoic self. And indeed, this cognitive dissonance, which has been much talked about as something that will be happening worldwide in the coming months, and has already been happening over time, but people are still able to make the choice to ignore what has been offered. But in weeks and months to come, there will no longer be that choice, because it will be offered, the truth will be apparent on such large scales that people will have to ultimately make that choice of whether they sit and go into a deeper place of truth and listen, as it were, from the heart, from the soul, from the deeper intuitive centers in their being. The mind, which has been set up as God by the patriarchy and by the current culture of generations, the left brain aspect of the male aspect being you can only approved of if you are correct and you have the facts, and the whole evolution of the fact checker, for example, being the so-called ultimate authority. Well, where does that leave instinct? Where does that leave the heart? Where does that leave your spiritual lineage, the wisdom that your soul has carried and brought into embodiment in this life? These are all equally powerful sources of wisdom. And if these are listened to in time, these will lead to what is called true discernment. But for now, as long as the norm in society is to believe the experts, this will continue to cushion people and make them feel that the journey into their own sovereignty, into their own discernment, is not necessary, that it isn't required. And in truth, to shatter this mind control that has been happening in these ways, to allow the house of cards, which is propaganda, to shatter and fall for as it will in future days, weeks, months and years, continue to now, that this shattering of the old illusions will demand that people step up to their own unique personal response to what is happening in front of them, and that they listen not just with the brain, especially the logical aspect of the brain. So the logical response to something is no longer, in this multi-dimensional world, in this multi-dimensional planet, really enough to present the whole truth. The whole truth must be a multi-dimensional response. Heart, mind, soul, gut brain, heart brain, head brain, all of the centers of response are required. And indeed the so-called alternative movement over this period, over these last years, the call from day one was, don't listen to me, do your own research. And this indeed is what many individuals planetary-wide have done. They have become seekers, they have become researchers, they have become people who know how to find their way onto political sites or government sites or health department sites or anywhere where the fine print is stored, not really available to the general populace, because we don't really want them to have this fine print, but it is there because legally, even in the system, everything must be presented to the public. And so it will be there, the records will be there of, as it were, the intent to deceive. So they can be found, and many brave souls have been on this journey of searching and refining and sharing their truth for some time now. Now you are moving into a cycle where these details will be entering the worldwide field, and as we say, this world of stories we are told, truths that define us, things that we grew up believing. My favorite actor since I was 12, my favorite politician, my favorite big name person. These are icons that will need to be shattered. And this will cause heartache. This causes heartache for the human, because we have not only believed them, we have invested our emotional well-being in these stalwarts of our emotional life. So this so-called cognitive dissonance is not just a mental, it goes through all the fields of the human being, and it threatens to shatter so much. And this is where we must say, we know we are talking at great length here, dear Anthony, and but there is much to say on this matter, and we would like you to have another question shortly, but we have just one more point to make here, which is this is where God enters the dialogue. And we use the word God, knowing that for many of you that can be a bad word, but we say, let us call it higher power. Let us call it source energy. Let us call it the universe. Let us call it nature. Let us call it the angels. Let us call it whatever word that you can give it for yourself. But for this one, she happily uses the word God with her own understanding of it, because it has been remade in her life from the dogmatic God into a word which embraces these wider truths, and ultimately the true breaking of propaganda which threatens to splinter the egoic mind. Where do we go when our self is splintered? Any one of you who have been through the shattering of a home, a marriage, a relationship, the loss of a child, the loss of a dear one, the dissolution of a business, the shattering of a life, any being who has, which is most of you, who has been through the shattering time in their life, understands that either the whole ego or a layer of the ego is splintered. In the tarot cards, it would be the arrival of the death card, saying that a part of your life is leaving now. The good news on that one is that the onion skin's been taken off and the next layer is emerging. And this is how we get led to our deeper and deeper truths, and finally we arrive at that core essence, which is, who can I really trust as a human being in this world? Who can I be accountable to? Who finally has really got my back? If that famous announcer person who I've loved and trusted all these years is turning out to be, seeming to be lying to me, I can't trust that person anymore. If the newspaper's lying, if my dear friends are all telling me things I just simply don't understand, who do I trust? And in the end, this is where we spend a time becoming the hermit in the tarot deck, and entering deeply into your inner realms and your inner spaces and going, what if all there was me? And then the ego brain goes, but I can't do it, I'm not big enough, I can't handle this, I can't handle it. And the answer is, you can't handle it. Let it go. Let it go. Move into the stillness. Move into your heartbeat. Lie on the grass. Take your bare feet for a walk. Swim in the ocean. Come back to yourself. Feel the truth of your organic vessel. Feel the truth of the multidimensional vibration pulses pulsing through you. And open your eyes and listen again, one sentence at a time, one post at a time, and go, where is this hitting my body? Is it hitting my heart? Or is it in my brain, making my brain tight, making my brain tight, making my brain tight? If this is all the story is doing, this in fact is your physical sign that you are still on the monkey wheel of needing to believe, wanting to believe, seeking a way to manipulate everything you are hearing so that it fits into what you want to believe. Whereas, as some wise beings on your planet have said, there is a phrase again which says, I'm sure your psychologists would say it, everybody has their own truth. You know, what is my truth is not your truth. But in the spiritual realms, truth exists. Truth is truth. It is a particular energetic. It is a very, very strong frequency. There can be different truths. You suit the colour pink, I don't. This is a truth. This is fine, we can call it a truth. But when we get down to core realities, not fact-checking facts, but the core energetic realities that have been imprinted on this planet throughout time, that are embedded in the DNA of man, that carry the resonances of the wisdom lineages throughout time, there is a truth. And this is the one that will shatter the seeds of propaganda, that will allow you to sniff it even before it enters the system, and to repel before it has time to embed in the system. This is the sovereignty that we refer to, that mankind is moving into now, that will bring people back to themselves with a capital S, not the egoic self, but the soul self, and indeed to a freedom of being that will liberate the individual and society as a whole, because there will truly be free thought on this planet again, and there is no greater power than source-connected human beings working from their unique integrity. Now we will ask, do you have another question?
Thank you. Fantastic response, by the way.
We are pleased.
How is it best to identify the subtle messaging of propaganda, and how is it best to red pill wake people up? As an example, there was a video once done called The Mockingbird, which was a montage of a whole bunch of media footage showing all the reporters saying exactly the same on every single station in the States.
Yes, this one has seen this, yes.
Proving that they're all on script, and you're just being fed a story. Now, I've even shown that to some people, and they cannot believe that. So
they will not believe it, or
they just can't accept it sometimes, which is really surprising. But anyway, so some people still can't be woken up sometimes to a certain degree. So my question is, how is it best to wake some of these people up?
Well, of course, we are on a spiritual timeline, and there is no so-called waking that you refer to. Each soul has chosen their own path at this time, and souls are in a way contracted to become more aware at particular times. For some, full awareness will come with the solar event, the solar flash, at which point the frequency of the whole planet will be raised to a point where darkness, and that includes lies, simply can no longer exist here in the frequency of the ascended Earth. So in some sense there will be a great lifting into, hope and true positivity at that point. Until that time, it will be a process of, as we say, the forces of light chipping away, as it were, by the incredibly obvious things that are actually happening in the media at the moment, to offer people the opportunity to open their eyes and truly see. For example, a politician on the screen wearing a face mask, which is common practice in the current world affairs, which we call the movie, and there is a large, very suspicious wrinkle or a very strange earlobe, or it is being almost comedic, the level to which these things are being made obvious to people, hoping that they will find a gentle point of inquiry with which these new structures of questioning that we have talked about may awaken within them. The powers, the light forces are now, of course, needing to, as it were, get a move on in this sort of pre-election, pre-USA election window. So, as we say, in terms of the red pilling, it is perhaps going to become a little bit more brutal now, in the sense that even for those who have been so-called blue, the blue pilling, yes, who have been so-called red-pilled for a while, if you actually look at the media, there is a whole layer of information coming out for them, which again is deeper and a little bit more gruesome and a little bit more so-called shocking, even for ones who have willingly taken the red pill some time ago. There are layers being peeled. So again, for those who are holding on to the blue pill because they truly believe in their beautiful hearts. These are people with beautiful hearts, good people all over the world, just really believing that the reality that they have always had is the one that is going to take them to the future. And that is because they have been told that and soothed that and told that by the powers that be. So to be willing to take the red pill the moment, isn't it? The moment, the window, the portal opening is the moment where each individual reaches that point of going, can I trust them? I thought they wanted my highest good. And this is your government, your teachers, your authorities. The moment where there is a genuine question and it hits you that what has just come into the news implies they were doing it for money, even though it meant people losing jobs and well-beings They were doing it for money, even though it meant people getting sick. They were doing it for money, even though thousands of people have died. Simple analogies such as we have talked before, we won't go into detail now, we can do another reading on it, but the issues of 9/11, the issues of the creation of the world wars. There is much research being done on this, which once you understand the way that government truly works, and that really, the so-called certain number of families were holding, the majority of wealth of the planet, and they have also been holding the control strings via the 3 points of power, being inner city, London, Washington, and the Vatican. That these 3 control centres of the globe have indeed held humanity in prison and brainwashed to some extent, and they are all working together. So to get back to the point, that once you understand that money is what has created the wars, and if you look at the details on who makes the money during war times, and you understand that it was certain families who have made millions and billions during these times, then you understand, oh, hang on, is it possible then that they actually created the environment for the war so that they could make their billions? So this is when the layers of questioning gets deeper and deeper. And then that leads to the realization, which is perhaps the harshest for any, so-called blue-pilled, person of good heart, as we say, who's really just wanting to stay living in their belief that humanity is innately good. Human beings are innately good. This is a harsh shock to understand that actually somebody out there, as it were, wanted to kill me. Somebody out there did not have my best intent in place. And this is harsh. This is harsh to realize it. But again, once you realize, well, if I'm not that person, part of the machine, who am I? And you can move into the reality that you are a soul having an experience on planet Earth, then you can again find your freedom within this construct. Does that?
Yes.
Yes?
That's fantastic.
Good.
I think that covers that topic pretty well.
Okay. Well, we are very happy that you have asked this question. It is a very, very complex. We must just mention before we close this topic, there is a whole other realm that we have not discussed. And this is the realm of, it is perhaps a little out there. It is beyond, as it were, the mainstream populace awareness at this time. But as we have in other discussions talked about, what is called disclosure and the understanding that forces, both good and bad, have been dialoguing and active on this planet for many, well, throughout the current history of the planet, then you understand that energies such as implants and energetic, as it were, otherworldly controls have been placed also on the human race, and this is often at the core of so many well-being individuals genuinely distraught and simply not understanding. I don't understand why, as you have said in this conversation, my friends who I showed that to didn't get it. They couldn't receive it. And this is because there are greater forces at work than just, can't you see what's in front of you? Because these implants that have been in much of humanity have literally made it impossible, as it were. They have dimmed the sight of much of the population. So there are also forces, there have been forces beyond our control. And in truth, part of this real warfare that is happening on the planet at this time, this galactic warfare, this reclaiming of the planet from its, as it were, foreign invaders, has involved the removing energetic layers around the planet which have, as it were, held the cords of the implants. And so mankind is literally being freed as we speak. There are actual 3D human being military who have fought these demonic forces, who have, some of whom have been invested with, as it were, superpowers or special equipment, which allows them to deal with these the mighty powers of the foreign beings, and lives have been lost. Humanity will learn in times to come of this great battle that has been fought on their behalf, and indeed that will be a time for deep gratitude and honouring of the forces that have been battling to bring the planet back to light and to remove any sense of foreign item, foreign body, what can be called these chips that are put into anything and everything these days, because they all remove a layer of sovereignty from the individual. This idea that the human beings can be controlled through, and are being controlled through the phone, through their television screens. They are constantly being watched. They are being affected by the EMF layers of radio waves and all of these negative waves, let alone the chemicals that are put into the substances falling from the sky. Then we begin to realize that all of these forces have been a multifaceted, determined, we can't say attempt because it really has had much success, program to keep humanity unaware of its soul essence and the fact that indeed the human race is a mighty, godlike being. This is our true lineage, and we will be returning to that now, because we are on the timeline, on the ascension timeline, for those who wish to ride that train. So at this point we will leave it, and we are deeply grateful for your question and opening this topic with us. Blessed be.
Thank you.